Second, I think Jesus asked his disciples, do people say I am? Because he wanted them to have a chance to repeat what others were saying. This way the disciples could think harder and deeper about their own beliefs. In other words, by having the disciples repeat the names that were circulating through the gossip mill, it gave them a chance to think about what they themselves actually believed. Now, Jesus was effectively having them practice this discipline. If you want to know God better, talk about him with your friends. Well, from there, Jesus moved on to his next question. He then said, "What about you?" Was that a potentially hard question Jesus posed to his disciples? You bet it was. But one disciple, Peter, answered with confidence, and he said in Matthew 16, verse 16, "You are the Christ, you are the Son of the living God." In that simple statement, Peter answered several questions that he answered. When he said Jesus is God's Son, Peter answered, "Why?" When he said that Jesus is the Christ, which means anointed one or Savior, Peter was acknowledging that Jesus is the one who saves us from our sin. How are we saved from our sin? God loved the world and gave his only Son to die for us. When are we saved from our sin? When we believe that Jesus is God's Son and we ask him to forgive us and be our Savior. When the last verse we're going to look at today, Jesus said this in response to Peter's confident answer that Jesus is the Christ and God's Son. In verse 17 it says, "Blessed are you, my Father in heaven, showed it to you." In other words, Jesus was saying that this kind of confidence and assurance, the kind Peter showed when he answered Jesus' question, comes from knowing God. And if you want to know God better, talk about him with your friends. So what does that mean? It's simple to say, if you want to know God better, talk about him with your friends. But does that look like, what does that look like in day-to-day life in 2010? Well, it means you tell your friends when God answers a prayer. Why would you do that? So they can be happy with you, and possibly to remind them that if they've been praying about something for a while and are feeling maybe discouraged, that God does answer prayer, and that his timing is perfect, even if we don't always understand it. It also means you talk about him with your friends if you've recently found an especially cool verse in the Bible. Well, why would you do that? Well, maybe so your friends can hear it and then benefit from it, because maybe they're in a similar place as you, and the words will be equally applicable to something that they're going through as well. Talking about God with your friends also means sharing the good news that Jesus wants to be their Savior. It means telling them what you know, that God loved us and God gave his Son, and that our sin is forgiven when we believe he is God's Son and we receive him as our Savior. If you want to know God better, talk about him with your friends. And just because I can't resist hearing it one more time, I said, if you want to know God better, talk about him with your friends.
Talking about God and his Son, Jesus, can be a natural and easy thing to do with our friends. Why? Because they're the people we talk about all the good stuff with. And what is better than the tremendous gift God gave us when he sent his son to be our Savior. It's all because of Jesus that you and I have the opportunity to spend eternity in heaven. So everyone stand up and let's get ready to sing.
It's all